Começar a gravar aqui. Beleza. Eu vou espelhar pra gente ver. Pronto. Tá conseguindo ver?
Tá meio que carregando, tem uns cubinhos girando.
Deixa eu ver aqui.
Agora sumiu.
Deixa eu botar de novo.
Ah, tá. Agora tá grande.
Foi. Beleza. Tá.
Tudo bem.
Hoje eu vou fazer a aula em inglês, né? Pra gente já entrar no mood da aula, enfim. Vamos começar. So today we're going to do some speaking exercises. And the first step of this speaking exercises is going to be divided into two parts. So, in the first part, I'm going to ask you some random questions, and it doesn't, I, because usually those as exercises from TOEFL, from CAE, they have like a time span in which you have to answer those questions. But in the first part, I'm going to ask you some random questions. You don't have any time to answer them. You can take your time. And it's just a way to heat up for the second part. And in the second part, I will display a few pictures. And you're supposed to talk about those pictures, about what you see, and also kind of speculate what's going on. But there are some specific questions related to those pictures that you have to answer. And you have 1 minute to talk about those pictures. And mainly when I give students these exercises, they tend to be kind of stuck and sometimes their minds just go blank, which is completely normal when you have like this certain time span to answer the questions. It's completely normal. It happens to me too. And I don't know if you've ever done those kind of exercises. So if you have, that's a good point. But if you haven't, it's okay. So the first exercise, I'll just stop sharing the screen because then you'll be able to see the questions. And I'll ask you first. So, um, now I'm going to start, okay?
Ok.
So the first question is pretty easy. It's I'm going to ask you where are you from and what do you like the most about the place you live?
I am from Canoa Quebrada. Is a beach in Ceará. And my favorite thing about the place I was born was the beach. I really like, and I think it's like the prettiest in the world. Something like that.
Great. And the next question is what kind of outdoor activities do you do me enrolei. What kind of outdoor activities do you enjoy the most? What do you like doing outside?
Mm, I like swimming. I like swimming at the beach. I like walk,
Mm-hmm.
but in a place with nature. I like to walk, and I like a lot of exercises in the outside. Outside the gym, outside
Mm-hmm.
home. But the mainly I like the most was swimming.
Great. What sports are most popular with people in your country?
Football. I think football, um, maybe volley, maybe volley.
Mm-hmm.
Brazil has a powerful culture of volley too.
Mm-hmm.
Not powerful like football, like we are the country of football, No, they don't talk football. Football is soccer. We are the soccer country, but I think volleyball is very powerful too.
Mm-hmm.
And I think is that like that.
Great. And which sports do you enjoy playing or watching?
I am not a. I don't watch any sports,
Mm-hmm.
but sometimes I just watch MMA,
Mm-hmm.
like boxings, and do you can you repeat the question?
Which sports do you enjoy playing too?
um, I like volleyball. I don't
Mm-hmm.
like soccer too much. I like volleyball. I like some basketball too. But my thing is like swimming, you know?
Mm-hmm.
It's like that.
Great. So now we're going to the other part. I'm going to stream again so you can see the screen. And just wait a minute. Great. So, can you see the screen?
Yes.
Okay, so I'm going to tell you what you should do. So, pay close attention. So,
Uh-huh.
okay. I'm going, before I start speaking, I'm going to tell you the enunciate of the question, what you're supposed to do. And then I'm going to give you 20 seconds to prepare yourself, to think about what you're going to say, what you're going to answer me. And after those 20 seconds, I'm going to give you 1 minute to talk, to execute the task. So, first, I'm going to tell you what you're supposed to do. So,
Okay.
in these pictures, they show people waiting for something. So, I would like you to compare and contrast two of the photographs and say what you think people are waiting for and how they may be feeling, okay? So,
Okay.
now I'm giving you 20 seconds to prepare yourself. Go. Just take this time to think what you're going to say.
I am prepared now.
Okay, the 20 seconds are up. I'm going to start the chronometer in 3, 2, 1. Remembering you have 1 minute.
Okay, the first one at the left, I think they are waiting in the line for a bank, something like that. They want to give attention. No, they want attention for someone, and I think they probably very frustrating because uh, waiting in a line with a lot of people waiting in a line is very frustrating. The second one, the woman alone, I think probably she was maybe scared and very lonely too. She appears to waiting for a bus or a subway, something like that, and I think it's very I think it's a scary place to wait alone and appears it's night, so maybe she was alone and scary. I think that.
Okay, great. You've done it just in the 1 minute mark. That was an excellent time managing your head. Um,
Mm-hmm.
Overall, you really made the point of the question. You described the pictures. You talked about what the people in the pictures might be feeling. Um, it was like basically perfect. I think the only thing that you kind of missed was creating a contrast between these two images. Like from what you said, you sort of created a contrast, but maybe if you were in a situation where someone was evaluating you, they would
Mm-hmm.
point that out. but overall it was great. So now I'm going to put uh, another another set of pictures,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm going to ask you to basically do the same thing. So you have to choose two pictures to compare, and I'm going to put it on the screen for you right now. Just a moment.
Just a second. I need to get my, how to say, carregador?
Charger.
My charger.
Okay. Recording and here. Okay. Can you see the screen?
Not yet.
Okay.
Ah,
So
yes.
now these photographs, they show people with animals. So I would like you to compare and contrast two of the photographs and say what you think the relationship between the people and the animals is and how the people may be feeling. So now I'm gonna take the question off. Mm-hmm.
Can I ask a question? It's a cat, or it's like it's a cat at the second
Yes,
picture
it
in
is.
the middle?
It looks kind of
Ah,
strange, but
okay.
it is.
Okay.
É.
Eu achei que era uma onça.
So I'm going to give you 20 seconds to prepare yourself, starting from now. I'll let you know when the time is over.
Okay.
Okay, the time is up. So I'm going to give you 1 minute to talk about the picture. You can choose two pictures, the same scheme as the first one, and you need to relate both of them and say what you might think they have in common and what those people are feeling. So I'm going to start the timer in three, two, one, go.
Okay, I think what the three have in common is that they are the relationship between an animal and a human. We have a grown woman, a family, and a little girl. Uh, I could say that it was obvious that the in the middle has a cat, and it's like a domestic animal, and we have like a lion, so it's like a wild animal. But talking about their feeling, I think the woman is really happy and excited because he's babying a little lion. And I think the little girl is really sad. Maybe the cat was sick, but I think probably it was like the cat of their house or her cat. So maybe has some problems about it, and she's crying and really sad. But the woman, I think probably the lion, isn't her because like is a wild animal and really, I don't know what country she is, but probably she can't have a lion in her house, and probably he's like making some is in a place just taking care of a little puppy, very pretty puppy. I think it's
Okay,
that.
so in this one, you went over 1 minute. You made in 1 minute and 35 seconds. Um, at the 1 minute mark,
Mm-hmm.
you had already described the pictures, so that was good. Um, Although I have some points. In the first picture, it's not a lion, it's a baby tiger. um,
Ah, no, é verdade. It's true. It's not a
and
lion. Sorry.
you described the pictures really well. Although I think you kind of missed relating them, which is very important, and comparing in the sense of like in the first picture, probably the little tiger isn't hers, But she seems like happy, kind of
Mhm.
excited. She's taking care of the little tiger. And in the second picture, it causes a sense of loss. You pointed out that the girl or boy, I can't really tell, is really sad. The cat might be sick or might be even dead. And you pointed out those two things, but you didn't put them in a sentence like, oh, so the difference between these two pictures is that in the first picture the woman is happy, she's feeding the baby tiger, but in the second picture the feeling is lost, you know. You described, but it kind of missed a link. But it wasn't bad, like it was completely fine,
Okay.
which that kind of happens sometimes. But talking about time management, I think you did really well. I don't know if you ever did these kind of exercises before, but if you haven't, congratulations, because sometimes we get kind of nervous, we get kind of um, uh, concerned about the time and stuff. So that went pretty well.
Mhm.
So I added another exercise for us to do. And in this exercise in specific, I'm going to explain. So we have this main question, which is why do people need to take precautions in these situations? So we have a lot of situations such as traveling, changing jobs, getting married, having children, and starting a business. The only thing I'm going to do is checking the time because I'm not sure about the time that was given. Yeah, okay. So now this is we're going to have 2 minutes and we're going to do this together because usually in those exams sometimes they pair you up with another person and you have to do these type of exercise conversation exercise with another person so they can test out your ability to engage in a conversation and stuff. So basically, we're going to talk about all of these topics in 2 minutes. So here's the catch: there are many topics, there are 5 topics, and we have very little time. So, a tip I give you is trying to relate those topics somehow. Like, when if you're ever going to take this test and you come across this situation, check all of the questions they put here, like traveling, changing jobs, getting married, starting a business, and having children, and try to relate them somehow. So when you talk about, for instance, getting married, you can talk about having children because that gives you an opportunity because they are related. Usually, when you have children with someone, you're married. Of course, that's not like everyone's situation, but it's something that our society think it's like. So it's very common for these two concepts to be related. And for example, changing jobs and starting a business, they are related to, like, you're unhappy with your job and then you decide to start a business. So when you're talking about changing jobs, you should be like, oh, you need to be careful about changing jobs because you need to take a lot of factors into consideration. You need to think about, I don't know, salary, or if you're in a company for a long time and you are building your career and then you decide to change your job, if the next company you're going to be into, you're going to have opportunities that are as good as the old company, as you had in the old company. But then if you're going to change your job and start being a business owner, for example, you have to be careful with them, blah 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 blah. And then in the end, traveling, there isn't much you can relate. But you can also relate, like, I don't know, traveling and changing jobs. There are many things you can relate. But the tip I give you, the catch is try to relate so you can talk about two
Mhm.
things at once, né? You can matar dois coelhos com uma cajadada, né? Eu acho que é assim que fala. So I'm going to put the timer here. We're going to have 2 minutes. And I'm going to start the conversation. We're supposed to have this conversation, me and you. And then we're just going to evolve all of these subjects. Just pay attention to, try not to stay at traveling for very long or changing jobs for very long so you can have time to talk about the other topics, okay? So I'm going to start now.
Okay.
So, Sarah, what kind of precautions you think you should take when you're getting married to someone?
Uh, Precautions.
Yes.
Assim, ai
Ah,
meu Deus, eu não sei o que é
é
precautions.
precaução. Deixa eu começar de
Tá,
novo,
tá, tá.
porque
Então é
aí
isso
a
mesmo.
gente já.
Ah,
Não, tudo bem. Tá, vamos lá.
sorry.
Sarah, what kind of precautions you think you should take when you're getting married to someone?
I think the first one, you need to have a job. And a good job. You don't, you can't depend financial thing, like the money can't be just for just no, the money, everyone can have their own money. I think it's the mainly thing.
Yeah, I think about that too. And I also think you should really get to know the person before you get married because sometimes we get married really early and we don't fully know the person. But talking about marriage, I also think that when you're having children, you should be very careful with who you're having children. So that's very related to getting married with. So, what are the other things you think that you should take care when you're having children?
I think he knew the person who was, uh, in my case, the father of the children is very important because you need to know how you grow up a kid. So it's a very complicated thing. You maybe need to change jobs or because you need money and you need stability for having a family.
Okay. So what do you think about changing jobs?
I think changing jobs is a very difficult thing for everyone, and maybe it's a need in case of having children, or in case maybe you really don't like your job. So maybe you can try starting a business. It's good when maybe you have more time with your family, and maybe you have time for traveling or do things that you usually don't can do having a job like
Okay,
that.
so our time is up, and we actually exceeded. Um, we we exceeded for 16 seconds. So, what I'm going to tell you,
Uh-huh.
you kind of took very long talking about getting married. And also, usually when you're in those situations,
Uh-huh.
like when you have a pair, you should also ask things. So when you said your opinion and your points in what you should be careful of when you're getting married, you should leave a hook for me to talk.
Mm-hmm.
Like for instance, you said, "Oh, you can't depend financially on a person. What do you think about that?" So you kind
Ah,
of
tá.
need
Aham.
to leave a hook or ask someone about something, what they think about something you said. Like, I think people should be financially independent. How is it independent, the word? Yeah, financially independent. What do you think about that? Do you think it's okay for one person to rely financially on the other one? Or maybe you should say, oh, you need to be careful about that. And that also applies when you're having children with someone, and that involves a lot. So I know it sounds kind of confusing because it's a lot of topics you need to talk about all at once. but it's okay because, it's difficult, and especially when you're talking about someone like, even though I'm your teacher, we never like had a really long conversation. We don't really know each other, so it might seem kind of
Mm-hmm.
intimidating talking to another person. And I don't know if you plan on taking those tests, and even if you don't, it's really very important to do these kind of exercises because they teach you how to maintain a conversation, how to debate on things, which is very important. And I feel like this is my personal opinion now, but it's something I have seen in a lot of students. When it comes to talking in a second language, sometimes it gets really hard when we get on debates or in deep conversations that require like another kind of vocabulary because it's our second language. And even though we might be very good at it, um, we are taught to express ourselves. Sorry, just wait a minute. My dog just won't stop barking. Sorry. Um, but when you're like talking in a second language, it's kind of difficult because when we're kids, people teach us how to speak, how to act, how to express ourselves in Portuguese. So when you're learning a new language, you kind of have to find out another way to express yourself because you don't have the same like um the same resources in English that you have in Portuguese. We don't have like the same slangs, we don't have the same
Mm-hmm.
mannerisms, the same expressions. So I understand it's kind of difficult. So I really like those kind of exercises because they help us. Like in the last class I had before you, I also did an exercise of speaking, which is very interesting, and I'm going to pass it to you maybe in the next class or maybe even today because it's really interesting. And those exercises basically just give you a question and you have like 30 seconds or 1 minute to talk about it. So you have like 10 seconds, 20 seconds to prepare yourself, and then you have to talk about something like completely random. So it's really important, especially because we need to just like improvisar. And the other exercise I did with them was they gave us the exercise was a text that we had to read, and then a dialogue about the situation that was represented in the text. And then they gave you a question, and you had to talk about what the question asked that was related to the text. So I think that's very interesting for you because I understand that you're graduating in an area where mostly people use a lot of English. And I imagine that maybe you can get a job that will require you to do presentations all in English or talk to people everything in English. And sometimes, I don't know, before meetings, you have to read a report and talk about it. And in Portuguese, that can be considered easy sometimes. But in English, it's a lot of information for you to just like put into your head because it's another vocabulary, it's in English, and you have to like understand that in Portuguese and then translate that to Portuguese and then find out what you're going to say and then translate that to English and say it. So it can be kind of complicated, and that's basically the point of those exercises, which it's also good because it'll help you if you have like any issues. So here, let me see. No, I'm just going to open the file so we can do one of those exercises because we have um very extra time. So let me see.
Okay.
Just stop recording here.
In English,
Mhm.
just in English, to get more involved
Mhm.
with the language. Because sometimes we just thinking in Portuguese, but we don't, it's hard to say in English.
Mhm.
And I think when we are practice, it becomes more easy and easy.
Yeah, definitely.
I'm trying.
I think conversation is really important because it also helps you with all of the other things that involve learning, like listening and anyway, pretty much everything. So that it's really good that you are seeking out to people and speaking English with them. So here, we have the first exercise. So I'm going to read it to you. So some people enjoy taking risks and trying new things. Others are not adventurous. They are cautious and prefer to avoid danger. Which behavior do you think it's better? So, you have 15 seconds to prepare yourself, to think about what you're going to say, and you're going to have 45 seconds to speak. So, I'm going to give you a few tips on how you should do this. So basically,
Mm-hmm.
what a lot of people tend to do is like we have the question here, which behavior do you think is better? So here's the catch. Many people, many students started talking about them and for a long time and they didn't have any time left to explain what they actually thought was better, because sometimes you might be like an adventurous person and you spend like 40 seconds talking about it, but then in the last 5 seconds, you don't get the chance to actually say what you think it's better because sometimes we're not always what we think that is right or better. We have our own manners. So, for instance, I am a very cautious person and I prefer to avoid danger. But I think it's good to be adventurous. I think it's better to be adventurous because that way you can enjoy opportunities better. So, I had a student in the last class that couldn't like reach this point. And other tip is like um, it gives you 2 points: being adventurous and being cautious. So, when you talk about something like what do you think it's better, you need to have a reason. So, to give a reason, you need to point a few things out. So, um, you have to point out the pros and the cons of being cautious and the pros and the cons of being adventurous. So you can like um, solidificar seu argumento. So when
Mm-hmm.
you say, like, for instance, I think that being cautious is better, you gave all the reasons why you think. So it's really important in this kind of tasks, okay? So
Okay.
now I'm giving you 15 seconds starting from 3, 2, 1. So take that to prepare yourself.
Okay.
Okay, so the time is up. And now I'm going to put the timer to 45 seconds. And you're going to respond.
Mm-hmm.
Starting in 3, 2, 1. Go.
I think be adventure is better. It's a better behavior. I don't saying that you have just jump at a rock, but I think having adventurous behavior is very good for a lot of people. Like you will discover a new place, you meet new people, you get the chance to change yourself and to change your place and people's live in your people live with you. I think being a casual a person, a very limited, can limitate your life. You always be at the same place doing the same things. Maybe it's good, but at the same time for a lot of people can be bad. You won't see another place, another people, uh another path of your life. But being an adventurous person, you can do every not everything, but you can do a lot of things that you can even imagine it can be possible. Yes, I think it's that.
Okay, so you took 1 minute and 20 seconds. I didn't interrupt you because I wanted to know how far you were going, and then I can help you with your time management, okay? So,
Mm-hmm.
here at 45 seconds, you already talked all about being adventurous. So it was kind of funny because exactly when it hit 45 seconds, you started talking about being cautious. So basically, you have really good points. You really did what I advised you to do. You put out the points, you compared things, and you said what you thought was better. You didn't talk much about yourself, so that's good because you went straight to the point. The only thing
Mm-hmm.
that unfortunately you didn't get to do was managing your time well. But that's okay
Okay.
because you didn't just like panic and stopped talking or didn't know what to say. You already had things in your mind, and I noticed that you already had those thoughts very organized. So that was great. So for like a first try, that was like awesome. Okay, congratulations.
Oh, thank you.
So it's okay. So now in the second one, here they have like some really tips. So here they said you should clearly state where your opinion is, and that's what you did like in your first try. So that was awesome, and you went straight to the point, and then you gave reasons to support your opinion, which what was I told you to do. So you gave good details, and you gave like a relation between the example and your opinion that was very clear, and you gave example of a situation, and that was great. Like all of um the points you needed to get to, you did get to them, so that was awesome. So now we're moving on to the second question. So the second question involves a text, and we're going to read it. And then there is this dialogue, and I'm going to do this dialogue with you so it gets more dynamic because it would be very boring if only you read everything. And then there is the little question, which I'm not going to spoil that much. So here we have this text. So, sculpture courses to be discontinued. University administrators announced yesterday that the sculpture program, a division of the art department, will be eliminated. The main reason is a lack of student interest, reported one administrator. Although the number of art students had increased, fewer and fewer art majors are taking sculpture classes. Furthermore, the department's only sculpture professor is retiring this year. Given the art department limited budget, the administrator explained, it just doesn't make sense to hire a new full-time professor to teach sculpture for only a handful of students. So basically, in the text, they talk about how the sculpture program is going to be eliminated, and that's because students are interested. And even though the number of art students is high, not many people are interested in those classes. And also, the only professor available to give those classes is retiring, and also the art department doesn't have a lot of money. They have a limited budget. So it doesn't make sense to hire another professor to teach sculpture for a handful of students, for only a few students, because it doesn't have that much of demand. So we're going to read this now, and I'm going to be the male student, and you're going to be the female student, okay?
But I can't see anything.
Oh, you can't. Wait a minute. Oh, I forgot to share. Sorry. Here. Okay. So, I'm going to be the male, and you're going to be the female.
Mm.
Okay.
Okay.
So, everything all right?
Can you? Sorry.
Okay.
Can you get some zoom?
Oh, sure. Is it fine?
Ah, better. Uh-huh.
Okay, I'll start. Everything all right?
Yeah, I'm just upset about the article I showed you this morning.
Why? What's the big deal?
Well, as an art major, I think it's a big loss for the department. The university's got it all wrong.
What do you mean?
Well, the low enrollment isn't because art majors don't want to take these classes. Problem is who has time to take them when there are so many other requirements.
I don't understand.
See, the classes they're eliminating are all optional. The required courses are mostly painting and drawing, and they take up all our time. What what we really need is are different requirements. Then Art Major could take a better variety of classes, all the things we are interested in.
That makes sense. But the thing about the professor,
Well, that's true, but still, they're being drastic. If money is the problem, they could hire a part-time professor, or most of the professors in the department have second fields.
really?
Yeah, at least a few painting teachers are also great sculptors. I'm sure all of them could teach a class.
Great. So since you couldn't see the screen, I forgot streaming. You can take like a quick read of the text so you can, do the exercise properly, okay? You can have your time reading.
Mm-hmm.
Let me know when you're done.
Uh-huh, okay.
Okay. So, now I'm going to put the question here. Okay. So, the question is, the woman expresses her opinion on the university's plan. State her opinion and explain the reason she gives for holding that opinion. So I'm going to give you 30 seconds to prepare yourself, and then you have 60 seconds to respond. Okay?
I need to explain her opinion like that.
Yes, you need to tell me
Okay.
what her opinion is and explain
Mm-hmm.
why she thinks like that, why she
Ah,
holds that
okay.
opinion. Okay?
Uh-huh.
So give you 30 seconds to prepare, starting now.
Okay.
Okay.
Forgot to
Um,
say.
from now, I'm going to put the timer. You have 60 seconds. Three, two, one, go.
I think she's thinking that the university plan is really drastic. She thinks if the problem is money, they can talk with another professor and for teach the lessons of sculpture. But she thinks that drastic action erase the sculpture plan because the students aren't going to class because they don't like it. It's more like we have another classes that don't have much time. But she think the students still like this kind of art. That.
Okay, so that was a great time management. You did it in 49 seconds. So you're really into the time. That's great. But I have a few things to say.
Mm-hmm.
Something you said a lot was I think. So that's something you should avoid because it
Mm-hmm.
tells you to state her opinion and explain the reasons. So even though you stated her opinion and didn't give your opinion at all, you said I think, which I understood your point, but if you ever find yourself in a situation where you're going to be evaluated, the
Mm-hmm.
person who's interviewing you, they might think that's bad. So, but basically, you gave the opinion and you told the reasons she holds that opinion. But the only thing I would do is advise you to organize those thoughts a little more, because when you started speaking, you didn't go straight to her opinion. Like you kind of went through her arguments. So that might sound kind of confusing. So whenever like you go through a question like this, the advice I give to you is just go in the order of the question. Like the question says first to state her opinion and then explain the reasons. So I would advise you to say her opinion at all, one thing at once, and then you explain the reasons. But basically, you said all of the reasons, you explained them very well, and you were also in time. So it wouldn't be a problem for you to like correct yourself furthermore because you managed the time well. And that was great. Okay?
I
So,
think I make it wrong because I didn't want to say my opinion. It's like her opinion. When I say I think, I should say she thinks.
yeah.
I am thinking.
But it's okay because it's something sometimes we do a lot like I think even in português we have like às vezes a gente fala eu acho, não sei o quê, e às vezes a gente não tá nem dando a nossa opinião, né? Tipo assim, a gente
Mhm.
usa muito o acho é, de especular, só que tipo, pelo menos no inglês, muitas vezes isso passa a, a opinião de tipo. Ai, meu Deus. A impressão de opinião, né? Enfim. Mas.
Mhm.
Bom, deixa eu streamar aqui pra você de novo. So, that was all of the exercises we had for today. And I'm going to give you a homework so we can also work on the writing because we have I think I only gave you like one homework to like write an essay. So I think we should really start working on that because your writing is really
Mhm.
good. I think the first homework actually, I don't remember, was I asked you to write about yourself. And one thing that you got a few mistakes on was when it comes to time tenses and but we have already gone through that. We went through that later on. So I think you caught the idea really well. And I want to see how the progress of your writing is. So
Okay.
now I'll ask you to write an essay about something you really like. Like, for instance, you told me today that you really like swimming. It can be about that, but it can also be literally about anything, about a band you like, about a movie, anything.
Mhm.
So I'm going to ask you to write a text about it. It doesn't need to be very long, but I would like I I'd like it to be a little more elaborated. You know, it doesn't have to be necessarily really long, but like
Mhm.
medium. So I can see your skills on talking deeply about something. Explaining deeply about something. That's something I want to see how you do. So a few reminders I put is for you to describe clearly what you're talking about and also describing and saying about how you found out about it or how did you end up
Mm-hmm.
liking it? So I want you to talk about what you like and a little about yourself in a way, because how you found out about it, what took you to like it, you know. And I
Mm-hmm.
also put the reminder to pay attention to the time tense and to pay close attention when you're talking about something in the past, what tense you should use, if it's like past perfect, if it's past continuous. I don't know, just to pay close attention to that because it's really important. And
Okay.
that's pretty much it. The keyword for today is ruthless. So if you want to like put it in the Discord channel already, I would thank you for that. So you don't
I
forget.
always forget. I I always forget this. I will. I have to see. Uh, my manage. I have to manage this,
Mm-hmm.
but I always forget, and I think it's very wrong. I can say sorry.
No,
Sorry.
it's okay. Since you're like the only student that comes, I know that you're always present in the classes,
Mm-hmm.
but the people who help me out don't because they're not here. They're not in class. So sometimes they might
Okay.
check the channel and says, "Oh, she's not putting the keywords," and they might give you
Mm-hmm.
a falta, you know. So,
Uh-huh.
but I always correct it. Don't worry about that. But it's just a reminder. So I'm going to post these slides in the Discord. And if
Okay.
you want to like practice speaking a little more, feel comfortable, if you want any recommendations, you can talk to me. If you have any doubts, you can talk to me. And while you're writing, if you have like any doubt, you can also talk to me. I'll help you out. So
Uh-huh.
feel free to do that. So that's it. Do you have anything you like to ask?
No, no, not today. Just if talking about